housekeeping rules for the day. And once she's done, we will be asked to please just stand that we take the national anthem item again.
To our distinguished guests, all the parties involved, ladies and gentlemen, and to the ones that are joining us online, good morning to all. So today is and the last day of the Property Sector Research Colloquium 2025. So yesterday was a very insightful day, very informative. I was on session 3 downstairs, and I heard some very interesting and engaging presentations done by about the transformation catalyst, and another one was about reducing, also engaging for me. And indeed, we are living in the world that is transforming once again, and innovation is also progressing. Thank you so much there to all the presenters and all contributions done. Thank you there. So for today, the remarks once again, and also the housekeeping rules, is that the restrooms can be found on the first floor and also the ground floor on the left-hand side. And everyone needs to have their name tags visible. Kato did say that if you don't have, you won't be able to eat today. So ensure that they are all visible. It is once again a networking event. And within that, let's try to also maintain a professional and supportive, I would say, engagement throughout the day. Emergency routes can be found on the door behind me. With that being said, can we all please stand to sing the national anthem? Thank you very much there. So without wasting any further time, it is a very short program today, as today is our last day for the Property Sector Research Colloquium 2025. I now call on forward the chairperson of the PPRA to formally introduce to us our Deputy Minister. Thank you.
Good morning once again. We'd just love to welcome the Deputy Minister, Honorable Thandi Maembeshala, the DDG in the House, and the academia who have been supporting us since yesterday, and the PPRA board members. I must just share with you that the Deputy Minister was actually born in Ggeberha, and it started raining, and she brought us more blessings. And I'd just like to acknowledge that as the PPRA, we are so blessed. We have two energetic shareholders who are always support us. They give us so much support and so much encouragement. And as the saying goes, to whom much is given, much is expected. And we are also happy that they acknowledge and appreciate the collaboration that we are having. And this colloquium is actually very much blessed. I'd now share with you the minister's, deputy minister's biography. It is on page 2 of the booklet. Honorable Thandi Mahambe-Hlala serves as the Deputy Minister of Human Settlement in the Republic of South Africa. A seasoned public servant and leader, she brings extensive experience in governance, policy formulation, and stakeholder coordination across government and community structures. She provides strategic leadership for flagship programs like the ISUPG, First Home Finance, formerly FLISP, and disaster housing. She also supports innovative building technologies and veterans housing, ensuring dignity, equity, and sustainability. Deputy Minister Mahambe-Hlala oversees sector entities such as the PPRA and CISOs, strengthening institutional alignment and accountability. The Deputy Minister's focus has also been more directed towards the elderly, youth, and women. Her political and governance leadership spans multiple structures within the ruling party, where she has served in various roles. These positions have enhanced her understanding of local governance, intergovernmental coordination, and youth and community mobilization. She previously served as Deputy Minister of Communications, Chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committees on International Relations and Cooperation and Tourism, and as a member of the Portfolio Committees of Energy and Small Business Development. Deputy Minister Mahambe-Hlala holds a master's degree in public administration, obtained in 2017, honors degree in public administration, she obtained that in 2016, and an advanced diploma in public administration in 2014 from the University of Western Cape, complemented by certificates in audiovisual communications, community profiling and needs assessment, and program design and presentation. Her leadership reflects a deep commitment to inclusive governance, sustainable human settlements, and the empowerment of communities through policy innovation and participatory development. I thank you all. The biography speaks volumes of our Deputy Minister. I'd like to call her to the podium.
I'm taller than the program directors, so you can sit down, colleagues. So, welcome to Ggeberha. Ibhaya lambatho lombatho ngabalaziyo. I'm sure abantu balapha bayaya lento ndithethayo ubaba khona kuthiwa lombathwa ngabalaziyo xa ungalazi awulombathi ibhayi. Let me take this opportunity and greet the program directors. I don't know what's happening to the, yeah, it's fine like that. The Minister of Human Settlements in absentia, the chairperson of the board, Mrs. Ggeberha, the CEO of PPRA, Mrs. Tato Ramaila, the Vice Chancellor of this institution, Professor Sibongile Mutwa, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Research Foundation, Dr. Fulu, representatives of the Department of Science and Technology and Innovation, members of the academia, researchers, practitioners, students, and distinguished guests, and most certainly the Department of Human Settlements, led by the DDG, who is responsible for entities, DDG Ngongo. Allow me, program directors, to stand on the protocols that are already established. Good morning to you all. It is both an honor and a responsibility to address this gathering of thought leaders who understand that research is not an academic ritual. It is the engine that powers transformation, innovation, and accountability in a democratic state. Now, this colloquium convenes at a decisive juncture. More than 3 decades into our democracy, the property sector remains one of the least transformed sectors in our economy. The patterns of ownership, access, and participation still mirrors the apartheid era inequalities. Women, youth, and Black professionals remain structurally marginalized. Women, youth, and Black professionals also remains excluded from ownership, capital access, and high-value transactions. The PPRA Act of 2019, which is number 22, and the establishment of the PSRC were not merely administrative milestones. They represent instruments of the economic redress and intellectual reconstruction. They compel all of us to use the research evidence as a foundation for all the regulatory reforms and inclusive growth. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Department of Human Settlements, working alongside the PPRA-NRF and the academic institutions, we insist that transformation be data-driven, evidence-based, technologically enabled, and ethically grounded. Without the discipline of research, policy becomes rhetoric. Without data, transformation becomes guesswork. Now, we've got to be meticulous. Transformation is not spontaneous. It must be researched, codified, and institutionalized. Each study conducted through the PPRA PPRA-NRF partnership from curriculum transformation to sector professionalism and emerging practitioners retention is laid the foundation for a new inclusive property order. Now, the three imperatives for transformative research. One, which is to interrogate structural power and systematic bias. The research must expose the invisible walls that keep Black and female practitioners out of the mainstream. High value of property markets, whether in financial instruments, valuation methodologies, or ownership architecture. We need to translate research into responsive regulations. Evidence must directly inform the licensing models, enforcement mechanisms, and transformation targets within the PPRA and across the sector. Policy agility must match the speed of social change. We need to strengthen human capacity and capabilities pipelines. Transformation requires skills. It should not be a matter of changing the red to green. The secular must integrate business acumen, ethics and digital proficiency, cultivating practitioners who are globally competitive yet local grounded. And with the multidisciplinary skills that the board of the PPRA, I'm sure we are going to move to another level from today onwards. In an era defined by the fourth industrial revolution, transformation and technology must walk hand in hand. Digital land registries and blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, and big data analytics, GIS-based mapping, and smart settlement planning, digital literacy for practitioners, technology. When ethically applied, it must bridge inequalities, not widen it. Now, our challenge is to ensure that digital transformation becomes social transformation. And our collective vision of a sustainable and inclusive property market aligns with the NDP vision of 2030, where we're saying that building an equitable economy where opportunity is not determined by race or geography. Agenda 2063 of the African Union, where we're highlighting that advancing in Africa, whose growth is knowledge-based and people-centered, I think we're in a right trajectory today. In 2025, the White Paper on Human Settlements, recognizing housing and property as the socio-economic systems that affirm human dignity. Hence, the research presented here must inform policies on spatial injustice or spatial justice, land use management, and urban economic integration, ensuring that property becomes a lever for social inclusion and intergenerational equity. To move from a dialogue, a colloquium, to action, I want to propose strengthening these interventions would take us somewhere. One, we need to establish a property sector transformation research observatory, a permanent multi-stakeholder platform hosted by both the PPRA and NRFC. led by the Department of Human Settlements, of course, including all entities, provinces, and metros, to carry out sector-wide research, monitor transformation indicators, track ownership trends, and evaluate policy outcomes in real time. Expand the Innovation Fund, target youth and women innovators who are developing technological solutions in property management, valuation, affordable housing, and digital real estate services. The integration of research into government planning cycle becomes very imperative. Research from this colloquium must feed into the medium-term strategic framework, MTSF, and integrated development plan, influencing the real and budget outcomes. Now, we're committing that as legislators, we're going to take this research outcome and the outcomes of this colloquium to another level where we're able to reach. Starting transformation early is very crucial. This can be achieved by shaping the education system to promote research awareness from the earliest grades. Investing in property studies, spatial planning, and urban management at the level of TVET colleges and universities will help develop a skilled talent pool. Equality must be formalized. We must formalize the transition of women into leadership roles, increasing the proportion of female CEOs and senior executives in property institutions. This is not a symbolic empowerment. It is a structural justice. The Department of Human Settlements must take a central role in leading and coordinating sector transformation, building on progress made by entities such as CISOs, PPRA, and ensuring coherence across all regulatory bodies. Our research, Francois, must not remain domestic. It must be shared globally, because we are in this institution which I think it is globally recognized. By positioning our PPRA-NRF NMMU partnership as a continental leader in property research, we can extend South Africa's influence through international knowledge exchanges, joint academic programs, and multilateral forums. This will elevate the visibility of our institutions, attract global investment, and enable South African research to inform global discourse on transformation. Now, our government cannot achieve transformation alone, and I think that's why we honored this August occasion. We require multi-sectoral alliances between regulators, financiers, academia, and the private sector, as well as civil society. This colloquium, program directors, is a living model of collaboration, a bridge between knowledge and governance, between research and reforms. Let us sustain this partnership beyond conference halls and lecture halls and auditoriums into the spaces where our people live, work, and dream. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, let us be those visionaries who act, the researchers who build, the policymakers who listen, and the citizens who transform. Let us move beyond aspirations, and deliver measurable outcomes. Inclusive ownership patterns, equitable access to finance and markets, ethical professionalism across the value chain, and a property sector that serves the people, not privilege. The future of South Africa's property landscape and our democracy will be defined by how courageously we use knowledge to reimagine, redesign, and rebuild. Let us research to transform through all that is within the research disciplinaries. I thank you very much, and well wishes to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much there to the beautiful Deputy Minister. That was very beautiful and also very insightful. I can see that women are really taking charge. Thank you so much there. And she did mention once again that if there's no research and there's no data, indeed, it becomes rhetorical. And she also mentioned that if ever we are in collaboration, let's say coming from different disciplines, different voices, different perspectives, but at the end, we all must be one unity and make a meaningful change. Thank you so much, the Minister. Within that, I'll just do a quick announcement there pertaining our program for today. So up next now, we'll do the plenaries, and everything will be done on this venue. So there's no breakaway sessions, everything will be done here. I will call now the facilitator, and within that, while we have the different presenters presenting there will be roundtable discussions for any Q&A. And further on, maybe around 11:30 to 12, there can be comments by everyone. And at the end, we can have tea break, and then obviously any closing remarks by our people. But now I call on forward our facilitator, the beautiful Dr. Palesa Mothapo.
Good morning once more, colleagues. We seem to have a bit of a challenge. Dr. Mothapo, who was supposed to be the facilitator, it seems she will not be joining us today, but I think that does not stop the program for the day. There are, I see presenter number 5 is Mr. Francois Hugo. We will have presenter number 6, who's Ms. Portia Tausikati. Presenter number 7 will be Ms. Notolo Ngema. And then we go to presenter 8, Mr. July Mokwena. I think just to keep the program running, I am going to call Mr. Francois Hugo forward with his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Morning, Deputy Minister, Chairperson, board members, and CEO of the PPRA. I think we've heard enough about protocol. I'm just going to do the protocol observed, sorry about that. Those who deserve would know they deserve it. The one thing, important thing the Deputy Minister omitted to say is that she's also been delegated the responsibility for research in the National Department of Human Settlements, which we're extremely grateful for. In my memory, I think it's the first time that we've had an executive oversight over such an important portfolio as research. And when Deputy Minister is responsible for research in human settlements, it means all of you, because it also means that she has an interest in the research of PPRA, CSOS, and all the entities that go with it. So you should all be very excited that we have executive oversight and that there's an importance being placed on research at human settlements. Thank you for this opportunity to brief you today on a matter that lies at the heart of our developmental state, and that is transforming the property market through research and innovation. And I'm excited that some of my fellow panelists are members who have previously participated in our human settlements research webinars. We had Ms. Buthelezi, who joined the platform with Deputy Minister when we did our Women's Day webinar in August. We also had Portia there participating in the debate. So the point I'm making is it's one big family. We're all committed to the same matter, and it's actually such a small group of us that we need to support each other and we need to work together. We can't afford duplication. We can't afford spending time with things that's already been done. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at a pivotal moment in South Africa's human settlement journey, one where the convergence of data, technology, and inclusive policy can redefine the property landscape for generations to come. Deputy Minister has mentioned the challenges that we have in the property market, and it also links to spatial development and the challenges we have with injustices of the past spatial development, and how we're trying to redress and get ourselves on a platform where we can actually move positively forward. However, as we strive to build inclusive, resilient, and economically vibrant communities, we must anchor our efforts in evidence-based approaches and research-driven interventions. Now, the property market is not merely a transactional space. Although we had a presentation yesterday from a gentleman from the NHFC, a fellow researcher, who gave us a breakdown of the challenges in rental housing, social housing, specifically the post-construction period of that. So as much as it is a reflection of the economic priorities of the property, we also have the spatial justice ambitions and our commitment to sustainable development. To enhance its functioning, we must move beyond intuition and tradition. We must embrace data, research, and rigorous evaluation. How do we link research to transformation? And there's a very interesting study that was conducted by researchers at the RWTH Aachen University in Germany. And they developed a framework that identified 3 links between research and transformation. And the first one they said is we have transformation research, which is understanding societal change. The second category they identified was transformational research, which is driving real-world impact. And then the third one was research transformation, which is changing how research itself is done. And I think all of us would agree on that research is a topic that changes over time, and it changes constantly. There's no way we can do research in 2025 the same way the research was done 20, 30, 40 years ago. The Department of Human Settlements specifically has taken bold steps in embracing the value of research, and the Human Settlements Research Agenda, which was launched in October 2024, is a cornerstone of this transformation. I want to just quickly spend some time on the research agenda that we have launched, because it guides us, and I want to believe it also should guide all the researchers in this room. We've identified a number of reasons why we have this agenda. The first one being to inform planning, policy development, and review, as well as implementation processes within the human settlement sector. Secondly, to inform stakeholders of the department's research priorities, to signal to funders and development partners what research areas require investment, to assist the department to guide resource allocation for research, to encourage research collaboration in dealing with common problematic areas, and to enhance capacity building by encouraging students to participate in human settlement sectors. And this is something that we're emphasizing and putting a lot of time on, is getting masters and PhD students to identify topics within the research agenda and assist us to shape policy, because ultimately that's what we want to do, is we want our research to shape policy, to influence policy, to guide policy. And it also requires a collaboration between ourselves and the policy makers. Our department has placed research at the center of our empowerment strategies through targeted forums, webinars, roundtable, and collaborative studies. We are generating evidence that informs not only policy but also practice. The Department of Human Settlement has consistently positioned research as a catalyst for transformation, particularly in the context of human settlements, inclusive development and innovation. And as I indicated, we now have an executive authority that has an oversight over research, and that's how important we've regarded this. This research strategy that we have emphasizes evidence-based policy development, stakeholder-driven research agenda, integration of research into planning, budgeting, and implementation cycles, and importantly, as Deputy Ministers referred to, and also as Ms. Buthelezi has referred to yesterday in her presentation, empowering women in the property sector. I don't have to go into the details of that. It's been clear what the challenges are. One of the most pressing imperatives that we currently have is the need for gender equality and the inequality of that. Our research has laid bare the structural barriers that women face across the property value chain, from access to capital and procurement to leadership and ownership. We are not just talking about gender issues, we are talking economic issues that these are. When women remain underrepresented, we lose innovation, we lose resilience, and we lose growth. And you might ask, why is a man saying this? It's because we acknowledge the challenges, we acknowledge where we come from, and we acknowledge that we need to be part of the solution here. We need to. It's not a female problem. It's a South African problem. It's a society problem. As men, we have an equal responsibility to assist to have that restored. Our commitment is very clear. We have to integrate gender equality into every aspect of our programs, from supplier databases to flagship initiatives, from legal frameworks to youth inclusion. Another area that is very important to us is innovative building technologies. And we've identified this through initial research to say that IBT is not a luxury, it's a necessity. We have an IBT International Summit that will be hosted next year from the 3rd to the 4th of February 2026. Details will still be shared with you. But part of the build-up to that process is that from our side, we are going to seek research. We are going to issue a call for academics and researchers to participate and provide us with inputs on how do we turn that into policy? How do we influence the whole IBT sphere in changing from our traditional brick and mortar to innovative building technologies? We've identified that these technologies are not only quick to assemble and climate resilient, but they also open new pathways for small enterprises and emerging developers. And this is something that we want to involve the Ministry of Small Business Development in, because we see that there's opportunities there for small enterprises. We're also working very closely with the NHBRC and Agrima SA and academic institutions to ensure that our involvement in IBTs reflect the full housing value chain, from planning and financing to construction and management. These topics will all be addressed at the upcoming summit, and I urge you to please look out for invitations and to participate and make your contributions, please. Sorry, I know we pushed for time, so I'm trying to run quickly. Transformation cannot be achieved in isolation. It requires coordinated action across departments, NGOs, academia, and the private sector. We are committed to building work streams, tracking responsibilities, and aligning our efforts with the aspirations of our people, whether it's a research forum webinar or departmental strategic planning session, our goal is the same, to create platforms that drive inclusive, evidence-based and innovative change. These forums are not passive, they are vibrant platforms for transformation where research findings are translated into actionable strategies. And those of you who have attended some of our monthly webinars would have seen the inputs that we're getting, and I'm urging those of you who have not to please link up and participate. The good thing about this journey of research and changing research into policy is that we're not alone in this. It's platforms like these arranged by the PPRA together with the National Research Foundation and our own research units have become vital for this space and for the dialogues that take place. We, from Human Settlements, have been closely observing the proceedings yesterday, and those will be going today, and we will be sitting and analyzing those and see where can we assist, how can some of these policy or these research and papers that's been delivered influence our policies, and I think that's the positive thing about it. We also realize that our policies change. They need to change. The environment changes, society changes, and we're always open for new ideas. So when you've got some good ideas, please don't hesitate to submit them to us. We will really want to consider those. We can only work with what we have. Together with all our entities, we are also enhancing our property market intelligence through initiatives that integrates data, dashboards, development, and predictive analysis. And these innovations will help us to identify market gaps, track affordable trends, and support targeted intervention. Lastly, as I conclude, I urge you that we should use research not as a retrospective justification, but yesterday there were also speakers mentioning to use this as a compass, use this to show direction, use research to indicate what we're doing well, what we might not be doing as well as we want to, and see how do we accommodate all of this. Let us make research not a side activity, but a pillar for our planning and implementation. If we can build the property market together, which would reflect the best of our values, that will also give full potential to the hopes of our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francois Hugo from the Department of Human Settlements. I think you've really set the tone in terms of our time management for this morning. I'm just here to call forward Ms. Refilo Mashigu from the NRF, who will do the facilitation for this section for us. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please just put a request forward that the speakers, as they come forward, to try and limit their time to about 10 minutes per presentation so that we can catch up on time lost, but also still make it in time to keep up with our program. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Xolile, Program Director. Before I commence, I would just like to render an apology from Dr. Mutabo. She was called into an emergency meeting by her DVC, and sadly she could not join us, but she sends her apologies. So just to continue the program, thanks once again, Mr. Hugo. It's quite encouraging to have the Department of Human Settlements presenting and sharing their perspectives in terms of like inclusion of women and youth in transforming the sector. I would like to call upon Ms. Portia Dau-Sikati, who will be presenting on behalf of the Property Sector Charter Council. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Osrifile, and thank you to the Deputy Minister of Department of Human Settlement, to the Board of PPRA, to the executives, NRF, and University of Nelson Mandela. I'll be quick because I'll heed to the call. Thanks indeed. So I'm requesting, I think the team at the back was that one? The second one? Yeah, that's it. So my presentation is really framed from policy to power, from data to impact. Reimagining transformation to build a sustainable and empowered property sector. And I framed this particular presentation for many reasons. And the Deputy Minister earlier talked about research. Yes, data without impact, it's just noise. Data should be a weapon for truth. We need to reimagine our transformation, and it must be urgent. Transformation cannot just be outdated, it needs to drive that compliance that we require. So as we move to the next slide, yes please. In the slide, I talk about transformation has a shelf life. Those of you that have written legislation, you would know that basically when we write legislation, it is there to stay perpetually. However, the transformation and empowered legislation has got a shelf life. And it has a shelf life because there are many things that we need to do. Currently, as we sit, the inequality gap continues to widen. However, the opportunities continues to narrow. Because those that are in power and that have those opportunities or the ability to take that power are taking those opportunities. Therefore, it's narrowing for others and it's opening up for the others. We must ask ourselves, why is property mirroring the privilege? Because it's those that have property that seems to be the ones that seems to be the privileged. And we know that transformation denied is transformation delayed is transformation denied. But what lies at the heart of that is really the question that says, we should transform. Why are we still here 30 years later? Next slide, please. Next slide. I looked at, and I pulled some of the data, however, and I didn't go into depth in terms of the data. It is strange, and isn't it ironic that when you see the demographics of the racial demographics of South Africa, that we know that actually from a racial demographics, that 92% of our country is black. Only 8% is white. However, when you look at the property sector, it's exactly the opposite. Less than 20% is the one that is driving for those that are registered with a regulator are in the register seat of the property practitioners. And 80%, which is the opposite, are those that are playing part. Next slide. Let's translate that to another slide, which is a gender issue. Well, in the country, you would know, we're pretty balanced in terms of gender. Both male and female equally, up until towards the age of about 44. You have less males, so it seems like females seems to have a much longer lifespan than our males in the country. However, here it is, in terms of our gender representation. We are fortunate, though, that in the property sector, as we sit at the, those particularly registered as property practitioners, majority are females, 55%. And it's been a trend for a long time, from since we were tracking in 2008. 55% are females, and 45% are males. However, those that own those agencies, the numbers swap. Okay? 45 only are females, and 55 becomes males. The question lies, and those numbers don't lie. Women inequality continues to live on. Next slide, please. As we reflect onto the power, it is important to recognize that property is not just about buildings. It's about belonging. And when we say it actually starts to reflect those, the privilege, the question that we must ask ourselves is that who owns what? Who decides what? Who benefits? Where? And when do they benefit? You see, at the Property Sector Charter, we do this and we did this and we learned a long time ago. We used to talk transformation emotionally. We must transform. And we realized this doesn't hold water. We started to actually do research. Now, when we talk transformation, we can actually tell you by the numbers. We know, we can tell you today that the property sector is 9.4 trillion, of which the human settlement is 6.7 trillion. We've got 7.1 million houses that are registered with the deeds office. But if you were to look even the trends of where we are, majority of, in terms of numbers, and when we look at the value band, you've got super luxury, luxury, high-end, mid-end, low-end, and then affordable housing, and then obviously the BNG. And majority in terms of volumes are the ones obviously towards the lower end. In terms of value, it's the opposite. But we must, as we look into this thing, we must actually, when you look at the research, be able to face that property landscape cannot, and it must mirror what we want to achieve. It has been too long, ladies and gentlemen, and we must not allow that our sector reflect faces, same families, and same networks. Ownership denies access is exclusion that actually perpetuates inequality. Next slide, please. When we talk about a promise of legislation, when we drive legislation, we make a promise to people, to our citizens, to the nation. When legislation gets promulgated, it's a promise to the legislation, to the country. And laws are meant to bridge those divides. And that was transformation was meant to do. Yes, there is BEE. Yes, there's employment equity. And 30 years later, compliance continues, that compliance just remains still not achieved, in certain cases even just ignored. And we cannot talk about, and I get a lot of people that ask me, oh, 30 years later, you're still talking of that. Time has never sorted inequality. It's people that will sort out inequality. It's the will and it's the courage. Policies will open doors, but people must walk through those doors and they must pull others along to achieve that which their policy is meant to achieve. Next slide, please. So legislation, ladies and gentlemen, it's like a power without purpose if we don't practice it. Transformation, we cannot just continue to manage it as a checklist. We cannot continue just to keep it as a paper, as a scorecard. And yes, when I said, a lot of people is, oh, I'm level 2, level 3. That's what not transformation was meant to achieve. Yes, it's an outcome of what your company has achieved, level 2, level 3. But the real essence of what empowerment was all about is sustainability, it's productivity, it's innovation, it's global competitiveness. That's what it was meant to be. And that's what we need to be able to continue to heed for. But let's talk about economics of exclusion. What will it cost us if we continue with inequality? Exclusion will cost more than inclusion. And I can tell you, because there's a lot of companies that we deal with, and I deal with the entire property sector. The residential is a smaller part of our industry. There's more people that are willing to pay more for not doing what they need to do, when doing what they need to do costs less. Inclusion will cost us more. Exclusion will be expensive. Every time a young person is denied an opportunity, we lose the potential of GDP growth. The divided market weakens our economy. Every time a woman is excluded on ownership, we weaken our economic base and our families and our communities. You've just said it, Francois, earlier on, you were here. Inequality erodes trust and fuels unrest and drains productivity. We cannot build the property sector on a foundation of social imbalance. Sustainability begins with shared participation, not selective participation. And yes, most of you will remember 2021. You know, when it gets to that point where the unrest, when the simmering frustration boiled to boiling points, you would remember when they started to loot the malls, not even cameras. They didn't even hide behind the camera. They stood with what they looted in front of the cameras. But that is because unless if we do something, and for most of us, that boiling point will actually hit us in our lifetime. There will be a point where our walls that we tie will not be high enough. There will be a point where our electric fences will not have enough power to stop them. Unless if we start addressing the inequality that we have in our country. But the question is, what would actually save us from it? Skill development is the currency of empowerment. We've got to drive skill development. But skills, without skills, we actually would not be able to seize anything, or it would mean nothing even if we seize it. Skills improves employment prosperity. It helps work seekers to find prospective employment. Skills creates access to an industry. It gives knowledge to those that become professionalized, and it builds professionals to become owners of business. So skills becomes the heartbeat of what transformation is all about. So every skill entrance will ripple an employment. So we need to assist employers to access skilled employees. But when we talk also about skills, next slide, sorry, I'm leaving you behind, I'm so sorry. Go again. Once more, there you go. Once more, there you go. When you talk about skills to empower pipeline, imagine a pipeline where skills development gains into experience, experience into enterprises, enterprises into ownership. That is transformation chain that we need. We need seaters and institutions to collaborate, not compete. We need learners to have a meaningful learnership. We need mentorship to be structured. We need learners to see a path that the way they see learning comes to become earning. And that's a potential of the power that we're looking for. Next slide, please. The unrest, if we do not do anything, the future will remain uncomfortable for all of us. The unrest will arise, the inequality will widen. Economy exclusion will fuel inequality. Our youngsters will disengage and they will lose faith in the system. And the face of frustration and social unrest and the mistrust in our leadership will continue. We will weaken the system. The instability in the property that it gives will disappear. Social trust and credibility will decline. And inequality ignored will definitely invite instability. So we need to act now. And the cost of inaction will actually outweigh the cost of what we need to do today. Next slide. So the question is, what is the blueprint? We need to shift from compliance to consciousness. We need to use data as an inclusion. We need to understand who's in, who's out, who should be in, who should we pull in, when, how, and where do we get them? Skill acceleration program, incubation, PDIs, youth, women, and in the procurement and the system and the suppliers, who must be part of those systems. Affordable housing for black-owned agency. Yes, we used to ring fence, and I'm with you, my sister. The acknowledgement of DFIs. How do we support? I've been to DFIs to ring fence money to say, let's help black women. But the question is that, oh yes, let them buy the Pam Golding franchise, the Rawson. What happened to Mufokeng agency in a country where 92% is black? What happened to Shabalala agency? Why should we have Pam Golding in the middle of Pimville at Khayelitsha? Where in a country where 92% remains black. Next slide, please. PDIs and women and youth that are used will become unused power. The PDIs are not, it's not just about their money, but we are in the majority. Women are not just beneficiaries, they are builders. Francois said it again, the Deputy Minister said it as well. Youth are not a risk, they are our resource, and we need to build on it. They are our future. The future of our sector depends on unlocking this unused power that we seem to ignore. When PDI participate, you optimize the growth of the country. There is no chance whatsoever that we will look and get the desired growth of our country unless 92% is locked outside. There's no chance that we will get to the desired 6% growth of our economy. No chance in hell. Absolutely no chance. The youth needs to participate innovation and acceleration, as the Deputy Minister talked about, AI, the date of AI. And the future of the women must remain with them. So we need to build this ecosystem, because it's in the ecosystem, we must all own it. Government will create enabling legislation, yes we do. Private sector must commit with intention. SETAs must provide the system and must lead to employment, and communities must also hold us accountable. So what's this call for courage? Transformation is not just about comfort, it's about courage. We need to confront the privilege, disrupt the old networks, and rethink the power that circulates. It's not about charity, it's justice. Those of us that influence the decisions, next slide please, sorry, decisions must maintain the comfort for the few, must not remain. We must become conscious of the many that are there. Let us ensure that the generation demands us to be and deliver and make real transformation. So let us build the transformation sector or the property sector that will reflect our country, our people, the potential and the power that our nation can become. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dawu-Sekati, for that passionate presentation. I think it's very critical what you've just said, that we need to confront the realities of the inequalities that continue to delay the transformation agenda in the property sector. And I think there is a need to have these discussions more often with the DHS in the room, as they are the ones who are responsible for policy. It's also critical for industry as well to work with policymakers to fast-track that transformation agenda. To ensure that we move quickly, can I please ask Mr. July Mukwena to be ready with his presentation while we call on Ms. Noxolo Ngema from Social Housing Regulatory Authority to deliver her presentation. And I please ask that you please keep to 10 minutes. I will be standing next to you if you're not done in 10 minutes. Thank you. Ms. Ngema? Is Ms. Ngema in the room? Is she coming? Is that...
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the invitation. I am Noxolo Ngema, and I work as a research specialist at the SHRA. So just to be quick, I will be presenting on this paper, which is evaluating the effectiveness of social housing policies in addressing spatial inequality in South Africa. And the presentation will be just quick. It will flow from the introduction and background up to the conclusion and recommendations. So to begin, we have seen that South Africa continues to grapple with the deep-rooted spatial inequality, largely inherited from apartheid planning and forced removal, where communities were historically pushed to the outskirts, far from economic centers, and these spatial patterns still persist today. So despite 3 decades of democratic progress, many low-income households remain concentrated in peripheral areas with limited access to job, transport, healthcare, and education. And this persistent exclusion creates barriers to mobility and reinforces cycles of poverty. So social housing has been prioritized by human settlement as a strategic tool to undo this legacy. The intention is to support spatial transformation by locating affordable rental units closer to economic opportunities, transport networks, and social services, promoting inclusive, integrated urban development. Can you please move the slide, sorry? Move to the next one, the next one. Yes, thank you. Social Housing Regulatory Authority, which is the SHRA, plays a central role in enabling this mission. SHRA regulates and supports social housing institutions and projects to ensure delivery of affordable rental housing in well-located areas, compliance with the national policy. So this study evaluates whether social housing interventions are achieving their objectives, specifically whether they're helping to reduce spatial inequality and improve level of urban integration. Can you please move 2 slides? Move again. Thank you. So in this slides, we show the 3 main theoretical lenses guiding the study on spatial inequality and social housing. Number 1, we have the spatial justice and urban planning, which focuses on fair access to city resources like jobs, transport, and services. Number 2, we have the social policy and housing theory, which says that housing is not only a shelter, it is a tool for social and economic mobility. And thirdly, we have the economic geography, which is economic opportunities, which remains concentrated in metros. You can move to the next slide, please. So as we move into the policy and delivery environment, so in this slide, we actually highlight the key challenges currently facing South Africa's social housing sector, as well as adjustment government is making to respond to these challenges. So as first challenge, we see the persistent housing backlog, which remains one of the most pressing challenges. So despite the delivery of 1 million housing opportunities delivered since democracy, South Africa still has a backlog of approximately 2.4 million housing backlog. Urbanization also continues to outpace supply, particularly in metros, which means the pressure to deliver housing closer to economic centers is intensifying. So thirdly, we have the spatial and quality concern, which is another key issue which exists around the spatial and quality concern. And in response, the government has initiated several key policy adjustments, which include increasing budget allocation for human settlement, expanding the program to upgrade informal settlement and improve tenure security, and also a strong focus on affordable rental and social housing, enhancing subsidy framework and mixed finance and public-private partnerships. You can move to the next slide, please. So social housing delivery continues to face 3 core implementation challenges, which is the funding constraints, the bureaucratic and administrative bottlenecks, and also community resistance and local politics, where we have seen communities saying not in my backyard for low-cost housing. So to accelerate delivery and achieve spatial transformation goals, South Africa must improve funding stability, streamline governance processes, and build stronger community buy-in. Can you move to the next slide? The next slide, please. Thank you. So this study was actually a desktop study. Data was collected from academic literature, the government policy document, official report, and SHRA publications. You can move to the next slide, which is the study findings and discussion. Can you move, please? Thank you. So in this slide, we unpacks where social housing projects are located across the country and what this tells us about spatial distribution, urban integration, and persistent inequality. So in the annual report, the SHRA's annual report, even the Stats SA, it shows that there is a strong concentration in key economic hubs. So since inception, we have social housing that have been delivered at 115 projects which translates to 108,656 units by 2024. So in this project, 176 of the project, which is 56% allocated in Gauteng, and that translates to 51% of the units delivered. 41 projects, which is 13% of the projects, are located in KwaZulu-Natal, and 10% of the projects are in the Western Cape. So despite the national spatial equity goals, significant provincial disparities persist in provinces like the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northwest, and the Northern Cape. So this region faces limited municipal capacity, weaker economic pool, land and infrastructure constraints. You can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So in this slide, as you can see, there's a map there, which was taken from the social housing portal. You can see the concentration of the social housing are closer to Gauteng. You can see those dots there. It shows projects delivered, projects in the pipeline, and all of that. So this shows that there is a deeper concentration in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, but this is due to a stronger economic and job market, established transport networks, better municipal planning capacity and governance, higher availability of serviced land. This concentration has benefits, but also reproduces historical patterns. So a major constraints in land, particularly in well-located land near economic nodes, has posed challenges. There's high cost of land, there's complexity of development in inner city brownfield sites, there's municipal reluctant over rate-based and perceived social risk. We also see economic pressure as a challenge. So the policy requires that projects must be delivered within the restructuring zone, which is closer to opportunities, schools, and healthcare facilities, but delays in identifying and servicing restructuring zone land has posed so many challenges. You can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So as we can see in that table, social housing is designed for low to middle income household, those who earn between 1,850 to 22,000, and units distribution as, rental is charged between 25% to 37% of the income. Units distribution says that 30% must be allocated to the primary beneficiaries, which is those who earn between 1,850 to 6,700, and 70% must go to the secondary market, which is those who earn between 6,701 to 22,000. This is to ensure the cross-subsidization of the project. Can you please move to the next slide? We can go to the conclusion, please. The conclusion, yes. So to wrap this up, it shows that South African social housing program has made real measurable progress in expanding affordable rental option in well-located areas, as we have seen in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. However, despite this progress, we have seen spatial inequalities as is driven largely by uneven regional development. You can move to the recommendation, please. So based on the, yes, thank you. Based on the analysis, our recommendation are geared towards strengthening delivery, balancing geography, and deepening socio-economic impact. Firstly, we need a more balanced regional distribution. Secondly, we need to unlock and rezoning well-located land, which must be accelerated. Thirdly, we need to strengthen municipal capacity. Fourthly, we need to streamline system, as we have seen that departments do overlaps, but then we mostly work in silos. So we need a integrated system which will help us work as a team. And fifthly, we have the embedded housing in integrated urban planning. Housing cannot succeed in isolation, so we need to be integrated. And number six, we have the scaling of investment through sustainable finance and PPP models. And lastly, we have to innovate for quality and flexibility, higher subsidy quantum, which aligns with the inflation. Finally, we need to work with communities, as we have seen that there is also reluctance from the communities itself. So ultimately, this recommendation moves us towards a resilient, inclusive social housing system. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ngema. Actually, can I please ask that our presenters please come and sit here so that when we have the round of discussions, it's easy to address them. Thank you, Ms. Ngema, for that presentation once again. I note the housing backlog, and I'm pleased to hear that there's been budget increase from the DHS to address this issue. But I would like for us to see in a year's time the recommendations that have been shared here as well as in other presentations. How far are we in taking those up? And we can assess our progress from there. Lastly, I would like to welcome Mr. July Mokoena from the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to deliver his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director, and good morning, Deputy Minister, CEO, and board members, and all the distinguished attendees. My name is July Mokoena from the Department of Trade, Industry, and Competition. I think yesterday when I came here, I almost thought I'm in a wrong meeting because our role usually is on industrial development, trade facilitation, as well as facilitating competition. But then I settled a little bit. Colleagues, I'm going to be a little bit quicker. My role here is to share with you the project that we have implemented at the DTIC, which is the promotion of timber in construction. So the DTIC's role is to facilitate the industrial development that is dynamic, but also make sure that our economy is both transformation but also competitive globally and internationally, but also facilitate inclusive growth, development, transformation, as well as equity and full participation of all citizens in the economy. Next slide, please. So the DTIC group has got the department, but also has the development finance institutions such as the IDC, National Empowerment Fund, and also the regulatory bodies such as ITEC and Competition Commission and the Triple BEE Commission and other entities such as SABS and NRCS in terms of us trying to facilitate economic development. Next slide, please. So we are from the branch of the DTIC that deals with industrial development, and our role has been tasked with the forestry-based industries. And for the purpose of today, I'm going to talk to you about the engineered timber, which is one of the branch of the forestry-based industries that we support, such as the cross-laminated timber, glulam, as well as SOB. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So the timber construction has been around both in all the regions in the country, but also here in South Africa. We had a fair share of historical building in timber. So before the dominance of steel, brick and mortar, as well as concrete, Africans and the rest of the world were building in timber. The structure that I'm showing there is the building in Japan, which stood there obviously with consistent maintenance. It was built with timber and is still in existence up to today. Next slide. So why are we promoting timber in construction? South Africa has, through its partnerships internationally, has signed a lot of agreements to decarbonize our country, and construction industry, the researchers are saying that it contributes almost 40% of carbon emissions in the construction and also in the lifeline of that property. So the utilization of timber, which is a resource that we have in the country, I mean, Mpumalanga, KZN, and Limpopo has a lot of forestry, which is where this resource comes from. can benefit a lot if we beneficiate this timber into construction, and it is a low carbon product, but it's also faster to build because it has a prefabrication potential. I mean, because our country is prone to disasters, the floods and the fires, where people are trying to rebuild and they use timber, in 2 to 3 days that house is rebuilt, as we have seen in Naisna a few years ago. But also timber is a renewable resource. It can be used after its lifetime. It can be used into paper, it can be used into pulp and other products once that building lifeline has come to an end. But this product is also aesthetic because it brings warmth, so you will not need a lot of heating or fans in the house, because in itself it's an insulator. But also then the economic benefit that will come with the beneficiation of this product will come with a lot of job creation, because forestry is in the rural part of this country. It will facilitate economic development. The sawmilling sector, the engineered timber will bloom and will have a lot of job creation in those specific areas. So what are the key challenges? South Africa is not like Europe or Americas. They were not building with timber, so we don't have a lot of companies that do engineered wood products. We only have 3 which are based in Cape Town and Johannesburg, and the scale of the product is not a lot that can make it more viable for these companies to be established, because we only buy a few of that. But also in terms of regulations, we don't have standards or regulations that are specifically tasked to regulate timber structure building. We also don't have skilled force that knows and understands the use of timber. But we also have a big problem in terms of perception. Most people think that timber will burn, it will rot, and a lot of perceptions, which it has been proven by research that all of those are not true. So that's the challenge that we have, and that is why we are talking to you. Next slide. So the other challenge is that we have a problem of supply chain. I think you can go to the next one. Okay, yeah. So in terms of the work that we have been doing at the moment, we have partnered with universities such as the University of Stellenbosch, this university, NMMU, University of Pretoria, to come up with these programs, such as the Wood App, the Timber Construction Conference, which was held in the University of Pretoria in September, where all the professionals in the timber construction come and share their knowledge, but also then facilitate networking. But we also have the Wood App, which is an online free platform where engineers and architects can learn how to construct with timber, because it's not like the traditional building material. But to deal with perceptions, we also have the Facebook and LinkedIn group, where when the successful project that has been done in South Africa has been completed, those projects are shared in that social media platform, so that we can deal with the perceptions that it's impossible to build with timber. Next slide. So just to share a little bit of the good work that has come from the timber that comes from South Africa. This building that you see here, it's a building that was concluded in Zanzibar, built from the material and the cross-laminated timber made in South Africa. It's a 4-story building, and these are the kind of work that we think that it can be done in South Africa. We're exporting our products to other countries, and they are enjoying the niceties of our products, and we need to see a lot of that in our country. And this building has won an African Property Award in London just 2 months ago. Next slide. This is a building that was done in Cape Town. It's a 6-story building, but it was extended 2-story building using timber. So this is one of the projects that we're very proud of, to show and demonstrate that what we're talking about can come to life and assist us to deal with the building backlog that we have in our county, because it's quite quicker. This work was concluded in a month time, which is way below what usually can be done if we are building with traditional materials. So I would like to thank you for the opportunity that's given to us, and we are here to forge collaborations with yourself, and we hope that we will work together in the near future. Thank you, President.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mokoena, for that insightful presentation. I'm glad to see that innovation is really at the forefront of transforming how we build our structures. So I think now we can open it up for discussion. If there are any comments and questions from the floor, this is your opportunity to raise your hand and ask. We'll start, I think there was a hand here, and then we'll go to the lady here, and then the two, and then we'll pause, and then we'll take the next round. I am noting that we are a bit short on time, so I will limit it to 5 questions. Please keep it very brief. Try not to tell a story, just ask the question. Thank you. Mamiki, you can start here.
Thank you very much. My question is for Mr. July. Just in terms of costs, what are the implications of costs of that team? Because I know, well, let me keep my question short. Just cost implications, thanks.
Thank you very much. Mine is really from a research point of view, just to make an inquiry. I am aware that a construction master plan exists, and where would the property master plan be housed, and how can we integrate for purposes of collaboration where DTIC and DHS and DPWI can possibly join heads, so that we ensure that from an expediting point of view, we are able to accelerate in terms of moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Who's your question directed to again? Sorry?
Any of the panelists.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, I think it was, okay, we'll take these two, and then the last one will be at the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mrs. Siwisa from the Department of Human Settlements, Eastern Cape. Mr. July, can you just assist me? We are faced as the department with floods, that is the issue of climate change that has affected us deeply. And the issue of temporary shelters, it's not an answer to us. How can this timber maybe assist us? Because we talk of 3 days or 4 days, and unfortunately for me, I've only seen bigger structures that in terms of human settlements development, in terms of the climate change that is affecting us. Can you kindly assist us? Thank you very much.
Thanks. My name is Chipiri. Surname is Chivasa. You can call me Titi. As Hlebezananga, Mr. Mokoena, it's just that your presentation was very interesting and unique. Let me first appreciate all the presenters, but then my interest, Mr. Mokoena, is on the mega structures that I've seen there, the 2 built by timber. And I would like to understand the design principle, considering the fact that it's a timber. Do we have pillars of concrete or what? And then maybe you can touch base on the issue of certification in terms of green buildings. Thanks.
Thank you. And then we've got a question at the back, but before they ask, maybe we can take the questions. So we can start with the first one. I think the first one was on cost implication of the timber structures, the property master plan, and an issue on sustainability.
Thank you, Program Director, and thanks for the questions. On the cost implications, when we started the work in 2018, we knew that these kind of questions are critical, and we commissioned a study in collaboration with DSI, Department of Science and Innovation, as well as CSIR. The study was done by UP, and that question was the first one. And they did a comparison study with the standard RDP house, if we want to build an RDP with brick and mortar and timber. And they came to a conclusion which, because I'm an economist by profession and training, I'm not an engineer, I almost disputed that. They said that timber structure is less costly than the brick and mortar housing. So that's what they came with, and we can share the study with you so that I'm not making story for myself. And on the master plan, the DTIC is leading in terms of implementing various master plans. And if you look at the automotive master plan in South Africa and what it has achieved, all the master plans took cue from it, and I can say that with the achievement that we have seen there are quite immense, but we don't have the master plan on construction that I know of. But that doesn't mean that the door is closed. If the industry and the colleagues that are here wants to implement that, we can have we can implement that master plan. And the Ggeberha on the design principle, like I said, I'm an economist by training, so the issues of engineering sometimes they pass me, and I accept that. But the designers, because when they present, I do listen. They understand the limitation of timber and the strength of timber. If you look at the building in Cape Town, there is a concrete pillar there, and you've got the walls, which is timber. But the Zanzibar building is completely timber. No concrete is only on the what you call the foundation only, and the structures is only timber with the steel connectors and screws. There is completely glulam building. Glulam products and SLT walls, and with the concrete foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mokoena. And the other questions that were received, the property master plan, is there anyone who wants to reflect on that? Okay, all right. Can we have two last questions? I noted that one, and then that will be the last question. Thanks.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is for presenter number 6. I think she talked about issues of inequality, so there is need obviously to research into this topic of inequality, but I'm just wanted to ask what things which are different is South Africa doing compared to other countries, even in Africa, because if you look at the data, South Africa sits at 63% as a level of inequality, but Namibia is at 59.1, which is 4 points. Botswana, which also has not had the same history like South Africa, is sitting at almost 54, while Swaziland is 54.6, which is 55. So the issue of inequality, the question is, what is South Africa doing different from those countries? Because those countries may not have had the same past like South Africa in terms of apartheid, but still there is inequality. But then there are also other countries like the Scandinavian countries, obviously. We always talk about them as having the least kind of inequality. What kind of models do they have? So to really deal with this problem of inequality, obviously we can't deal with it 100%. I think there's need to shift and look at multiple causes of this problem. Then the other question is also the issue of private-public partnerships. Maybe we could also try to think about them. Are they really being taken full advantage of? Because most of the revenue that the government is supposed to get, it's usually supposed to get it from the private sector. It's impossible for the government to provide 100% employment. So do we look at a welfare state, or do we need to make sure that there is a healthy relationship between the government and also the private sector? Then the other question is, how about conflicting interests of politicians?
I think you already asked 2 questions.
Okay.
I'd like to
All
give
right.
the lady a chance, and then we really need to move on to the next.
We have a question online, Rufilwe.
Sorry?
We have a question online.
Oh, yes. We've got attendance online. If they can be very brief, we're running very, very behind on schedule. But in the meantime, can we just ask? There was a lady. Thank you.
Of the impact that inequality and imbalance of property distribution in South Africa has on young people. Because of this, I have lost financially trying to run a business, but once my business pivots into a certain direction, I get put 10 steps behind. So because of this impact, what is it that is going to be done for people like me who have lost because of the system that the people who benefited from apartheid got to keep all of the property and everything. Meanwhile, now people like us who are trying to make a better life for ourselves without having to turn to crime and youth losing hope. What is the step forward for us to now regain and level the playing field? Thank you.
Greetings, colleagues. Am I audible?
Move the program, but let's respond to your questions. Yeah, please ask her to type it.
Am I audible, colleagues? Yes. Oh, okay. My question is directed to the Social Housing Regulatory Authority. My name is Olona Njod, the Eastern Cape. My question is related to the priority human settlement development areas and how those are linking to the priority provincial restructuring zones. There was a comment by the presenter that in most of the more rural provinces, social housing has not been taken up that much, with major focus in the bigger metropolitan provinces. With Eastern Cape having 2 metros, is there any support that the SHRA would provide to the Eastern Cape in terms of ensuring that there is integration between the priority human settlement development areas and the PRZs, so that the PRZs can benefit from the settlement planning that is done within the priority human settlement development areas? And then my second question is also related to the failing social housing projects. Is there any research that the SHRA has done in terms of how we step up tenants into the social housing program and how we step down tenants out of the social housing program? We found that when tenants tend to stay long time in the social housing developments, they become a nightmare for the SHIs to manage, because as they stay longer, they either have aspirations of ownership and they tend to default on rentals. Is there any integration between the social housing program and the middle income housing interventions for permanent solution? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I think the question, from Namibia regarding the inequality, I think we do need a multi-approach response. There's no one legislation that will answer all the questions. From the transformation, which is the property sector transformation, in our size, we obviously deal with broad-based Black economic empowerment, which is really addressing the imbalances of the past. And we do acknowledge the fact that the private and the public collaboration needs to be in play, and we indeed, from our side, do that. And to our youth, Chair, yes, we do acknowledge the fact, and we have seen a lot of those similar circumstances, and not only in the youth, even in women, where women have saying, we've been trained so many times, we've constantly emerging, we never emerged. You know, people are saying, I think, and half clash, you know, while they do their thing, they hold you on bay so that they can continue. So I think what we are doing, there's a program that we are running, and I know it's been run by the President and the Department of Public Works. All the SOEs and are bringing all the, they are running what they call, it's actually optimization of buildings. So every single building that SOEs, all the departments that they have, they are optimizing it. Those that you're not using, they are disposing it. Those that, the ones that they will keep, they will ensure that it actually is optimized. It gives the government the best what it can give them. Through those programs, we're hoping that we can actually mobilize throughout the entire program. And it's a program for SOEs that will continue for at least the next 10 years. We're hoping we can mobilize and capitalize on it to empower and drive transformation as well. Because we have standardized, or we have a virtual data room where we're going to have all public assets that are, and we're running it at the property charter, that are also kept in one central virtual database, and that will hopefully help us from the property side to be able to utilize that, to optimize and utilize that to drive transformation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I see there's a need for continued discussion, but there's opportunities to continue networking during the lunchtime. Thank you so much to our panelists. It was really a pleasure to hear your presentations, and I hope everyone found it just as valuable. I would like to, just a round of applause, thank you. I would like to call on Dr. Ggeberha Maila from the Department of Human Settlements to run the next panel discussion, which is our closing panel. I do note that we are 30 minutes behind. Perhaps we can cut that down to 45 minutes. The panel discussion will be 45 minutes so that we are in time. People have flights to catch. So thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Can we give a round of applause? Okay, so good morning, everyone. Allow me, please, program directors, to stand on the already established protocol because of time. My name is Ggeberha Maila. I work for the Department of Human Settlements. And so we are going to be covering on this segment. We are doing a perspective on the property sector transformation. We are looking at the trends and patterns over the last 3 decades. And helping us to unpack what has happened over the last 3 decades is a panel consisting of, okay, firstly, let me make an apology for Prof. Mbanga. He's not with us, so we have 4 speakers today. I would like to call upon Mr. Chipiri Chivasa from the Eastern Cape Department of Human Settlements to come forward. Dr. Thandi Mgwebi from the National Research Foundation. Ms. Tato Ramaidi from the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. Ms. Kululwa Mutwa from the South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners. Can we give them a round of applause, please? So initially we had an hour for the session, so it has been reduced by 15 minutes, and that would mean I reduce your talking time so that we allow at least 10 minutes for a Q&A. Can we please have a mic given to our speakers? There's a couple of questions that will be addressed to each of the panelists. I would humbly request that you note your questions down. We will not take questions after each speaker, but we will take questions after they have concluded with their presentations. Just as an icebreaker, can somebody tell me how did they realize that Nokolongema is Zulu without the name and the surname? No, without the name, without the surname, how did you pick up that she was Zulu? Limpopo, that's correct. So when she came on and she was announcing the province, she said Limpopo, and I knew she was Zulu. Okay. Can we first start with you, Mr. Chivasa? You are going to take us on a journey over the 3 decades. We are discussing what has happened. And the critical thing here, colleagues, is that as we chart our way forward, we have to understand, or take stock rather, of what has happened. What is it that we have done? What are the things that are still, we spoke about barriers. What are the things that are still missing? What is it that we still have to do? But we have to start by taking stock of the things that we have done from 1994 to 2024, 3 decades. So, Mr. Chivasa, over the 30 years of democracy, South Africa has sought to balance development with sustainability. Do you think innovative building materials can further enhance this journey towards sustainable development? And how does green building contribute to advancing a circular economy?
Thank you very much. I will start maybe by looking at where we are today. Then I will take you back. Then we will take the journey until we connect the cycle. We are in a state which is more advanced, looking at artificial intelligence and all those aspects of modern development in order to transform our space. Just after 1994, if one is to speak of the so-called innovative and sustainable building technologies, it might be maybe something that is very new. It might have been unknown by that time, but then one would look at other countries like your Australia, like your US, you find that some of the models that we see as innovative building technologies in our own country are not necessarily innovation, but a practice. So it says now there is a gap in terms of knowledge and education, which is key to our transformation. So somewhere around 2008, there was an introduction of innovative and sustainable building technologies. I didn't touch base on the challenge that we are sitting in as the country, which is called the housing backlog, which have made us now to look at the issue of the numbers that we want to deliver. And when we hear about the so-called innovative or sustainable building technologies, we jump into it, and we thought it will assist the country to speed the housing delivery. Focusing on the housing delivery was a single focus. If you recall, we have got a program which is called rectification, which have been brought because we have been chasing numbers. That was before we even think of the so-called sustainable building itself. And when we jump into the opportunity of the so-called innovative building technologies, we were looking at the number. We were even having the information that is not complete necessarily, because some of the technologies, yes, they can be fast, but then without proper understanding of the technologies, then there will be a challenge that you may develop a poor quality product. Yet the issue of integrated, sustainable building technologies has come. Otherwise, at first, it was alternative building technologies. It moved to innovative building technologies. Now, we have got the element of sustainability. You go to various provinces, they talk about that. Let's talk about these technologies and how they would assist us, and how best now can we integrate them in the current practice of moving from chasing the numbers to move into the more integrated, sustainable human settlements. I have proposed a model, which will be a very simple model. It is not based on something new. It's based on something that we have currently. It's just that it is not, it may not be much properly integrated. And I believe conferences like this or colloquium like this must be able to assist in the basis of transformation. I want us to look at the so-called legislation and policy. You know, our legislation and policy environment have a change. If you are to look at today, we have the so-called PPRA, which used to be known as EAAB. That was there. Now, with the new legislation or pieces of legislation, the so-called Estate Agency Affairs Board have changed to become the so-called PPRA today. So that is the part of the institution. You do have got the issue of integration, which is important in this model. But what is it that you are integrating?
Sorry, Program Director. It would be remiss of me if I don't correct this gentleman here. There is nothing so-called PPRA. There's PPRA. There is nothing so-called legislation. There's legislations in this country. It's not so-called. They are there. So I want to correct you so that in other forums, you don't do it. Tomorrow you are going to say there's something there's so-called human settlements. You are going to say that, and I think it's important that you correct that language because it's unacceptable. Call the Program Director.
My humble apologies to the House and to the country.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Can I protect you as well? I think it's a language, but I think you have been empowered. There's transformation that just happened in you right now. So let's take that in that positive light. Thank you. You may proceed.
Yeah, that's very true. We must mind our languages. Street language must be left in the streets. Thank you, Deputy Minister. I was talking about the legislation and the policy, and I'm saying these institutions that we talk about are very key in terms of one understanding, because we cannot be able to practice what we don't understand. Because within this model that I am proposing, there is aspect of practice in it, because when we practice, we are guided by the legislation and the policies. Therefore, we need to clearly define those policies, have the concepts around those policies, so that we will have to be able to shape this model, or rather the models that we are. So the highest aspect that will assist us is the models that are driven by the institutions. We talk most of the so-called innovative building technologies, maybe because we're
Transformation
another
is
apology. I will have to go back to school. But Deputy Minister, can you please forgive me for today? I will go and learn. That one is a promise.
Do not worry, it's gradual. Transformation is gradual. It's not going to happen overnight.
Humble apologies. Yeah, so the society is a very important fiber in the aspect of transformation. If we leave the society behind, there is this say which says there's no us without us. So when we organize our institutions, when we integrate them, when we educate one another, the society must also be taken on board. That is very important. So technology and innovation, we normally say innovative building technology, but I want to suggest that when we speak of funding, when we speak of land, when we speak of those practices, let us also speak of let us speak of innovative financing, innovative funding, innovative land development, innovative practices, because if you don't integrate them, we might be single focused in terms of this innovation. So integration must go beyond this conference. It must go a very long way. What I want to also suggest, I think Mr. Hugo have spoken a lot about
30 seconds.
About the summit that is underway. I think we need to look at the models of integrating the organizations or the institutions that are operating within the space of property market, so that we, all of us, put hands on the deck to ensure proper and complete transformation. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please pass the mic to Dr. Mgwebi. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Chipiri. And I think what just happened here today was a practical exercise of how transformation unfolds, and we appreciate it very much. So Dr. Mgwebi, moving on to you, we want to hear your insight in terms of how have skills development trends in the property sector evolved over the past 30 years? And how should South Africa leverage transdisciplinarity to resolve property-related policy issues? I think you already touched on it a bit yesterday, but I think now you have an opportunity to expand for some of us who may have not been at the session yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. I was going to ask, did I commit a crime by making a comment about transdisciplinarity, but I would like to make a few comments. I'm not going to take long. I want to first start by commenting on a few transformation trends, not including the one that's just happened now, but that stand out from a research and innovation perspective. Just 5 points. I'm sure there is more for people who are involved deeply in the landscape. I think the first point for me is formalization and inclusion. So post-1994, large-scale housing has happened, the delivery of large-scale housing, expanded formal property ownership to millions, but as it was said earlier, registration, secondary market participation is uneven, particularly when you look at townships and informal settlements. So the NRF would support work on innovative systems, on valuation models, on security that could unlock that trapped value. Similarly, like the NRF is supporting the research chair in sustainable construction management and leadership in the built environment at the University of Johannesburg that we spoke about yesterday. One of the things that the chair focuses on is on housing finance, for example. The second point I want to comment on as a trend is related to spatial justice and urban regeneration. We've seen in the last few years that cities are reconfiguring slowly with mixed-use development projects and inner city renewal projects, but township economies are not progressing at the same pace. We see an opportunity as the NRF for research policy partnership to reimagine peri-urban and township precincts, not only as sites for research, but as innovation zones for blending housing, enterprise, development, and mobility. The third point is on climate and resilience. Property sector is now central to South Africa's climate transition. We've heard a couple of comments yesterday, from energy efficiency to green retrofits to flood resilience and water security. That's central. There's a lot of research being supported by the NRF, but I would like to just single out a new initiative by the United Nations University that has initiated an Africa Hub for the first time in the African continent called Reach Africa, and you can look it up, but it's more on agriculture, on water, on security, and so on. So, and also the matters I spoke about yesterday on nature-based solutions and resilient infrastructure. And those align with the property agenda. The fourth point that has been happening over the years is digital and data transformation. I feel and I believe that the next decade of property transformation will be driven by data. And if I think of geospatial analytics, digital deeds, and some valuation tools and so on. So the NRF will see this as a frontier for data collaboratives, open access platforms, AI-driven insights. We already are a convener, but also a driver of African open science platforms. And that is also another opportunity that we can unlock with this partnership through the African Open Science Platform. And the fifth point there, which is the last point on this, is equity, skills, and human capital. So transformation also requires a new generation of property scientists, of planners, of valuators, of innovators. Deputy Minister, we have the presidential PhD program within the NRF that we are implementing that's looking at transdisciplinary initiatives. I do not see that, well, I'm hoping that this can be taken up also through this partnership. For example, a new thematic stream on property, cities, and resilience that will anchor interdisciplinary talent in this domain could be something to think about in the future. That program is being rolled out now with initial themes that also include digital transformation and also the sustainability nexus. So those are the 5 points that I think for me stand out as themes related to the property agenda and that the NRF is involved and supports. And then your second question is asking about transdisciplinarity. what transdisciplinarity should mean in the property context. It's more than multidisciplinarity, that, as I indicated yesterday, but it's about core-defining problems with policymakers, regulators, municipalities, traditional authorities, lenders, insurers, and so on, communities. The outcome of that would be judged by the policy uptake, enforceability, and equity, not only publication. So we also need to change our mindset about what academic research output is and how it can impact a society. So to include those outputs as part of transdisciplinary research. For example, I was thinking last night about this panel, thinking what would be a national transdisciplinary architecture for property policy look like? And I came across two things that stand out. A property policy transdisciplinary lab, for example. Standing platform convened or coming out of this relationship that we have. That could include additional actors like HSRC, Cities Network, and all the partners that are here that can be identified so that we can set data standards, commission pilots, and translate that evidence into regulations and standards that can be applied. But also we could look at provincial living labs. Sorry, those were two big questions, sorry. Provincial living labs that we can talk about to embed projects in real time and in real places. With, for example, in the Eastern Cape here, we could look at how we do that in rural nodes and also urban nodes, so that we can test solutions with municipalities. These things are already happening at a small scale, some in some regions, but we could scale them up. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you very much. I would have loved to just recap and do some of the highlights that I'm picking from each of the presenters, but I am really racing against time. But having said that, those that know me know that I'm very passionate about climate change and the solutions that we need to bring about. So when you talk about nature-based solutions and issues around flood resilience, and I think Mr. Chipiri also touched a bit on that to say, and I think there was a speaker also who asked the question to say, we're having this problem confronted by floods in the Eastern Cape. Year on year, government is spending money. We are through the disaster relief grant, we are having to take people to temporary shelters whilst we plan around the more permanent solution. But that is money that is actually being wasted. Now that we've got these innovative building technologies, we just had a presentation around timber. How can we utilize those in the space to solve these problems that we are confronted by? And I think we also had a presentation from the University of Pretoria talking about that. They did a live, they have, Deputy Minister, a project that they are doing in Pretoria and Melusi informal settlements where over a week they are able to build a full structure of a house using timber. And what is nice about that is that they are utilizing the beneficiaries. So you said nothing for us without us. Those people are empowered to actually build the homes for themselves, and they are meeting the building standards in terms of, I think, since 10400 as well. So those are the innovation that is coming from the communities, and I hear that across the presenters that this is one of the areas we need to be looking at. We are now moving on to Ms. Mutwa from the South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners. And to you, ma'am, we would like to find out, what do we define as transformation in this sector, and how is the institution promoting transformation?
Good morning. How we define transformation in the sector, this is actually a big dialogue that we have, because we realize that everyone has their own idea of what transformation is. Having said that, what we would collectively agree is seeing growth in participation of Black professionals in the sector across the different, aspects of property. So in the value chain, we want to see more professionals fully participating in the sector. We want to see increased ownership and having, ownership in the hands of Black players in the sector. Youth integration in all activities that are taking place, in the sector, and really having a voice in the room, because we recognize that in decision making, we need to have a transformed voice. So we want to see more Black practitioners and women also being in the room, youth included. I think there's also a group, people living with disabilities that we hardly consider. And I think whenever I think of this, I recognize that sometimes, the barriers that we are met with are not necessarily because we are intentionally excluded. Yes, there is an element of that, but there's also a component where we are just not considered. And that then also, enforces the structural barriers that exist within the space. Now, I have spoken to the groupings and the level of inclusion, but when we dig deeper, we then look at what are these barriers that are actually creating difficulty in having this participation that we are talking about. At a skills level, yesterday, I think speaking on one of the breakaway rooms in my presentation, I spoke to the importance of professionalization as a catalyst for driving transformation. And what that spoke to, in essence, is ensuring that we have the requisite skills and we understand and are able to respect the standards that are set for us and really being held accountable, holding ourselves accountable in terms of how we show up. So when we then, speaking of that, we are saying that we don't just want to have an opportunity, but when we have an opportunity, we must be able to add value to the opportunity that we get, so that we exude or rather confidence in our ability to do work. So we are not saying that we want transformation for the sake of transformation. Transformation must be able to aid to the work that we are doing in building our country's economy. So when we have then a Black professional that is not delivering the service that they have been called to deliver, it is a redress in the growth of the economy. So for us then, transformation also includes us ensuring that we hold ourselves accountable and we come correct when we get opportunities. When you are in the room, are you the best at what you do, or are you just there because you are a previously disadvantaged individual? So it is not enough to just be Black, but you must add value when you get an opportunity. And we also then speak to access, to markets for those who are pursuing business opportunities, having the platform to tap into, the supply chains from government, from private sector, and collaboration, with each other. Because when I get an opportunity and I work with her and her, then that means more of us, because in any event, I will require, support. I will not be able to roll out whatever project on my own. And I think the most important, because the property sector is capital intensive, access to market, that is a huge blockage that persists from those who are then looking to take up, especially the ownership component of the property sector. To be able to develop anything requires a lot of capital, and very few of us actually have, that capital or even the balance sheet to convince a lender that you are bankable. So we need then to have some redress and innovation in terms of how we look at access to finance and the equity components that empower black professionals across the different groupings that I've spoken to earlier. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have touched on, you are welcome to give her a round of applause. I think you've just touched a critical point, that those that are already within, there was a lady that had a question earlier that said she's also in the space and was asking, so what are the opportunities that are there for them? And I think those that are in the sector already bear a responsibility to make sure that the door is opened to others that come after them. If they carry themselves professionally, if they hold themselves accountable, then there is no fear to let others walk in, because already the ones that are in have actually taken up the opportunity, and more than just the demographics, more than their race, they've proven that they deserve to be there. So thank you so much for that.
Before you move on, I forgot the next part of your question, which was what are we doing to drive this agenda? I think very briefly, we have a huge focus on empowering the youth, because we recognize that if we are not intentional about empowering the youth, the transformation that we are fighting for today is not going to be sustainable. So it becomes then very key that in anything that we do, we ensure that the youth are not left behind. And we have a bursary program, starting at a university level, that we roll out. We've got an internship program starting today where we are exposing youth to the workplace, which is a graduate program that assists then in them growing those who want to be in corporate. But I think more importantly, we have a mentorship system. There is an aspiring women developers program, which recognizes that even in 2025, we have very few women developers who are, thriving, and we then building up that base just to, increase the ownership component through that initiative. But mentorship, is at the heart of everything that we're doing, because even when they come out of university, we recognize that there's a mismatch in terms of, the skills that you have and what is required as work readiness. So we have a mentorship component then that ensures that when they are, in starting up their businesses or starting up in employment, they are fully empowered. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our last speaker in this section will be Ms. Ramaidi. And to you, ma'am, we'd like to find out what was the intention behind the 6 research projects or themes of the PPRA-NRF partnership. And if you'd like to please share progress to date on that research, what has been achieved, and how do the themes speak to the transformation agenda?
Thank you, Dr. Maila, for the question, and good afternoon to the House at large. Before I answer that question, can I just piggyback right on the question you had asked Kululwa, just about around what programs there are available in the sector. I know in the room today, I saw a few principals yesterday who were not aware of our SMME incubation program, so I did a few recruits. And that program is open until the 31st of December. One of our SMME incubation recipients one of them is in the room, Ricky Vango from Ricky Vango Properties, and he's servicing the Northwest. So Ricky, just raise your hand so people can know these programs have a face and a name. Yes, And he's also he's also on the Rebosa Leadership Program, and I know the Rebosa is also in the house today. And this is one of those programs that I advocate for because it is one of the best entrepreneurial programs in the country, in the sector. And he can speak volumes on that because as an entrepreneur, he's been able to grow. But I know he's male, but I made a few recruits so that they can apply for female recruits that they can apply for that program. But Dr. Maila, to answer your question, so for those of you in the room who don't know, yes, PPRA came into being 3 years ago, 1st of February 2022 to be precise. But before then, we were the erstwhile Asset Agency Affairs Board. So that would mean that as a regulator, we have been in existence for 49 years. That is half of a century. So obviously, over the years, we've seen the trends, we've seen who are the role players, and we all know, I think it's been evident in the last 2 days that it has been a white-dominated sector, right? So, and then also with the genesis of the PPRA, the Property Practitioners Act also came into being, and this legislation, I have to concede, it has been an enabler for us, especially when transformation is concerned. So the 6 research projects, now Dr. Maila, to come to your question, were really shaped by a broader goal of us understanding the property sector in a more meaningful and evidence-based way. The DM spoke about it earlier when she said that transformation must be research-based, codified, and institutionalized, right? So when we started, the idea was to focus on areas that really speak to transformation, professionalization, and skills development, which is some of our core pillars as a regulator, and Kulula spoke to that as well. So we wanted each project to answer specific questions. You know, we've taken stock, we've been in existence for half of a century. What are the gaps, and what is it that we can improve upon? And some of the presenters yesterday, Doc, did some of the people, researchers who conducted these research papers, and they were explaining their methodology and how did they gather evidence. And one of the key things is that they went to the practitioners themselves. So it was not desktop research. They asked the role players, the people who are on the ground, to ask them, you know, about some of the topics that I'll talk to. And we also asked ourselves that what can we do differently to make this sector a more inclusive and sustainable one. So really the thinking process was about aligning research with both policy priorities and the real issues that practitioners face on the ground. So far, we have completed 3 of the 6 research topics, and we just concluded our terms of reference with NRF for the 4th research topic that the team will be embarking upon. But firstly, we looked at the impact of the post-curriculum on transformation in the property market, and this really helped us to see how education and training reforms are influencing change in the sector. And the second research topic focused on assessing professionalism in the sector. And this gave us a clearer picture of the standards, the ethics, and the conduct within the profession. And the third explored sector skills and resilience, which examined how the industry responds to economic shifts and how we can build stronger future-ready skills. And once again, Doc, when the researchers presented yesterday, with any presentations came recommendations. And I'm proud to report that for us as the PPRA, it has not been, you know, papers that have been accumulating dust. We have started to implement some of the recommendations. And for the first paper, we had learned that, you know, the post-curriculum paper, where we had to go and research TVET colleges throughout the country, institutions of higher learnings that offer real estate studies as in undergrad. And from that, we learned that there's actually institutions in the country that offer bursaries two practitioners to enter the sector, and that was distributed throughout the sector. And then this research is helping us, again, not only understand the sector better, but also shape practical interventions that will support our growth and transformation. So I think I'll leave it for that so that we can spend more time taking questions, Doc. Thanks.
Can we please give another round of applause for all our presenters? Okay, that brings us to the end of the session, but we will not have done justice if we do not hear from the House what the questions, I asked earlier that you please note them down if you have any, and if you would please identify yourself when you raise a question, and also indicate to the speaker you are directing the question to. The floor is yours. Can I take hands? 1, 2, 3, DDG, number 4 at the back. We will not have a second round, so please do not be provoked. Thank you. So those would be the 4 questions. Number 1, if the mic can please be. Number 1 is over here, the third row.
Thank you. Thank you very much, a facilitator. My name is Sipe. My name is Sipe Zenani. I'm a trainer and I'm based in Bloemfontein, and I'm currently making inroads into the property space. So my question is directed at the 2 speakers, Usis Tato and Usis Kululwa. I want to check. I've been pardon my ignorance actually, let me just ask for forgiveness before I even get started. Because as I'm sitting here, I've been just trying to go through the website to see the curriculums that are offered, for example, or that is out there for property practitioners by the PPRA. And as compared to what Mayor CEO had indicated earlier, that there's quite a huge uptake when it comes to ladies who are within the property space as practitioners or as agents, but there's very limited ownership. I wanted to check, in terms of the curriculums that you are offering, is there any element of enterprise development to ensure that you don't only create people who are going to be good in, chasing sales, because I think that can be done. But now, is there any form of enterprise development that is incorporated into the curriculum to ensure that these people are not only good at closing sales, but they're able to build businesses that could sustain themselves over time? Because I think that could be an element that is not there. And I'm not asking this because I'm a trainer and looking for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Row number 5.
Thank you very much. Mine is directed, I think, to all the panelists as well. It's basically just to think about the fact that what happens when there's like rains in KZN and the surrounding areas. So what usually tends to happen is we get floods in countries like Mozambique. But why is it that we do not then sort of harvest the water? I mean, it's something that continuously happens. Why do we not have some implementation to do with the water? Then we don't even have the water shedding issue. Like, why can't we find a way to have the water to be used, unlike just to have it drained out?
Thank you.
And then just lastly, sorry, I'll be very brief. As a registered property practitioner who's also new in the space, I'm looking at perhaps with what the lady with the nice brown
the lady with the nice brown top. That would be Dr. Mkwebi.
Dr. Mkwebi, sorry, my apologies, doctor. I'm just curious about the fact that as leadership Kulelwa as well was presenting in the same class for transformation, one of the other issues that we touched on was the issue of perhaps having a university, specifically in Newcastle, as a pull factor to develop the township, as it were. Because then as we have a university, we are then able to ponder on that as a specific route to start things off, maybe as a pilot project to kick off into other provinces, I think. Thank you.
You forgot to identify yourself.
Okay, my name is Kevin Bordona. I'm registered even under EXP as well. Thanks.
Thank you. It's DDG Ngongo.
Thank you very much. My name is Cindy Ngongo from National Department of Human Settlements. I'm just making an input, so I'm not expecting an answer to all of us. That firstly, the PPRA, part of the reason why it was called, it was established vis-a-vis Estate Agency Affairs Board, was also to expand on the property value chain, which means there are many practitioners that are covered under PPRA. There is a temptation of only focusing on the estate agents. There are many of them, such as developers, auctioneers, bond and bridging finance originators, and managing agents. We know also this is where also CISOs is playing a great part. So I just want to remind the House, can we cover all of them? All of them, they need economic transformation as we are going forward. And the second part, we all agree that we need data. If we can be assisted with credible data, the colleague there did speak about the covering the persons with disabilities. We are begging heavily, not only as a sector, but also as a country. How do we get the data that relates to persons with disability that needs to be empowered? And the last one, Chair, we are part of the global community. And also human settlements is people-centered. We need data on that is going to help us to transform informal settlements. Can we be assisted, please, so that we can transform also informal settlements, and we can also put the South Africa on the map in terms of how are we dealing with these challenges that we have. It is a global problem. Thank you.
Thank you, DDG. The last one, gentleman at the back.
Mine is not a question as such, but I'm just directing it to NRF. They talked about, I think they talked about AI, then the previous speakers talked about data. And, but the thing is that with AI, I can say that it's not in 10 years, it's even now, because there are a lot of open source large language models that are sitting somewhere online that require further research to tailor them to the local environment. They could be very helpful for the government and even for the private sector. But skills are needed. There is a lot of need for Python programmers, actually, so that they can do further research on such large language models. So if NRF can promote programming probably in such language like Python, because Python is the primary language in which such models are trained and developed for specific purposes. So then it could actually assist even in the property sector probably.
Thank you so much. To our panelists, here are the questions. I think there were a few directed to the lady with the nice brown, nice brown top. So if there's something that you didn't cover, I will alert you, but I'd like to believe you were noting them down.
Yes, I was. I just want to first start with the university question. I don't know if you mean we must build a university in Newcastle, but maybe not for now. But what I would say is there's a lot of collaborations that are happening amongst our universities. And if we're talking about water issues, almost each and every university in the country has a water research, either center or research group. I know in KZN, I don't know in Zululand, but I know DUT has got a very strong water research unit that is collaborating with communities around Durban, but similarly with University of KwaZulu-Natal, if I can talk about just the regional ones. But we also know the research institutions that have got very strong water and water focus, WITS, Free State, Stellenbosch, UCT, Rhodes, the CSIR, which collaborates with all the universities. I think what you are asking for is the transdisciplinary question I was talking about. So that we can develop interventions that are fit for purpose for the regions. So I think the NRF would be happy to talk to you about that and direct you to the right people so that you can hone the questions that need to be answered if they are not being addressed already. I won't know everything that's happening in the water sector, but I know there's extensive work going on with researchers and students. On the issue of skills, we do promote skills development through our universities. So to talk about skills in language development on the Python and all of that, it has to be coordinated. If we can have a cohort group, I think the presidential PhD program offers that opportunity. I know it says PhD, but we need to build a pipeline from honors upwards. So there are opportunities in the digital transformation theme of the program to build such cohorts. So maybe even there I can say a focused conversation to look at what is really required and which universities or group of universities that can drive that transformation. I think those were the two main questions for me.
Yes, it was the rain harvesting, Newcastle, and the skills. So. On the rain harvesting, I don't know the exact work that is being done, but I'm certainly sure that with the work that's going on water and wastewater treatment, there are technologies that are being implemented with these water research centers at the universities. Yes.
Dr. Maila, through you. The first question, the guy who called us PPRA, that's a first. I know you said you're an SDP, right? Training provider. And I take it that you are accredited with Services CETA. And today I just want to implore you that you need to please look into getting accredited with QCTO, because there's only 8 accredited training providers in the current country currently. And we are unable to exit some of our practitioners, and I'm sure Adrian at the back, they will contest to that. But to answer your question, so the SMM incubation program that I spoke of earlier addresses your question, but also our partnership stakeholders who assist you. I spoke of the RBL program, the Reversal Business Leadership Program, answers that question, because as a regulator, we can't do it all. So we've taken upon ourselves to say that to make strategic partnerships and collaborations to ensure that the mandate is still carried on, the transformation mandate is still carried on, but through partnerships. I think that was the only one for me.
Yes, I think the more from DDG was just the recommendations.
Yes, and I know DDG has been hounding us on that. Thank you for reminding me. So with one of our franchise partnerships, and maybe I shouldn't spoil I'll say it because I've started, but she's correct in saying that we've been focusing on the residential and real estate agents, But now with our franchise partnership, we will be launching now 2 commercial licenses. So we're not only now concentrating on the residential space, but also on the commercial space. And then there's also an organization called RICS that have approached the regulator to say that, you know, we've got FMs, your facility management, your developers. How can we assist in creating and developing programs and educational standards to assist in that regard? So that will help us with a shift and obviously broadening our scope, because like the DDG has said that our regulatory fold now includes other subsectors, 11 subsectors to be precise. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. I think also around there was a call to the NRF around the assistance with credible data in terms of persons with disabilities, informal settlements. So that was just a call to action. I don't think it requires comments. Can proceed, Mrs. Kulula.
Well, I was just holding the mic to pass it through to the next person, but I think what the gentleman there had wrote me in on the questions that he had for Tato, and an aspect of ESD that he spoke to. I just wanted to, you know, respond to that. So I'm not talking from a PPRA perspective, but as CYBEB, our mentorship programs that I've spoken to, Women Developers Program and an Accelerator Program, are actually ESD programs. So we look at, you know, just beyond the technical skills, having the requisite skills to, you know, to run a business. So yes, you definitely could add value along with a lot of trainers to these small enterprises as we support them to scale. Thanks.
I just want to add on the issue of water in KZN specifically that was appointed. Eastern Cape Human Settlements have done a study on the water scarcity. What we have found when we are doing that research is that it's not all the types of water that you can use. Now, when it comes to the issue of the floods, you look at the case of KZN, you are dealing with the aggressive water systems because there is it's a response to aggressive nature. Now, in that case, we may not necessarily say the sky is the limit, but then we call upon the innovators to say, let us go, let's be innovative. If there is someone who can be able to fetch water from the filthy air, where you cannot see water, but then you can be able to accumulate water that can be drinkable. Maybe we can be able to assist in situations where you have got floods, but then also studying what type of floods. So that integration that I was talking about in my presentation, that is where it comes into play, to say those who have got some technologies that can assist, groundbreaking technologies, let them introduce them, let us test them on the ground, because the water is one of the most scarce resources. As I conclude one of the conferences that I've attended, we had a very beautiful presentation of the lady that have developed a membrane which is used to sift water, or rather working with the desalination system to further purify seawater so that you can be able to increase on the extraction of seawater instead of the current system which is used high intensive in terms of energy. Then you can be able to get more water with less energy. Thanks.
Thank you so much to all our panelists. I would like for us to please give them a round of applause as they make their way to I think we can certainly say we have been taken on a journey on what has transpired in the patterns and trends that have transpired in the space over the last 3 decades. Just some housekeeping. I am standing between you and tea. So we've been requested to break for tea. So first we will make our way to the stairs for a group photo. Following that, people can make tea and are called to have a dome experience. Those that would like to have a dome experience, you can grab your tea and make your way to that dome. Thank you so much.
Hello. If we can kindly be back in the room for our closing session at 12:20. Thank you.